I was out mischievous.
Mischievous.
You know, my 3 closest friends did quite a bit of time.
And the 2 bangers, and I was up there and they was down there, and my people was on this side. We had and they had it was on the set. It was horrible.
They got me in all right
You might find it surprising, but it's not only rappers who have connections to gangs. Actually, a bunch of Hollywood actors have openly admitted to their ties with gangs. Today, we're diving into a list of 12 actors whose gang affiliations might just take you by surprise. So buckle up as we explore these unexpected links. First off, let's talk about Omar Gooding. You might know him from his roles on TV shows like Touched by an Angel, Wild and Crazy Kids, Hangin' with Mr. Cooper, Smart Guy, and Playmakers. He also made a mark in movies with his roles in Ghost Dad and Baby Boy, especially as Sweet Pea in the latter, where he earned critical acclaim. From 1990 to 1992, he was also one of the original hosts of Nickelodeon's Wild and Crazy Kids. And yes, if you're curious, he is indeed the younger brother of Academy Award-winning actor Cuba Gooding Jr. Now, you might be wondering how Omar nailed the role of a gang member so convincingly in Baby Boy. Turns out his portrayal was grounded in some real-life experiences. Before breaking into acting, Omar had some run-ins with gang life in his neighborhood. He even flirted with the idea of becoming a gangster rapper with coaching from CBO, a friend of Tupac and Young Buck. In an interview with VladTV, Omar shared a chilling story from his past that sounds like something straight out of a movie. He recounted a time when he and his best friend, along with another guy, went to a house party. Things took a dark turn when a younger gang, also at the party, started trying to intimidate them.
There was another gang there. And they approached us, just straight up, hit us up, where you from, that type of thing.
The situation quickly escalated into a violent brawl, with the rival gang throwing bottles. Omar, trying to dodge the flying bottles, hit the ground for cover. Amidst the chaos, he heard shouts of, I got him! When he looked over, his heart dropped. His best friend was lying next to him, unmoving, with blood pouring from his head, struck down by a gun.
They just surrounded us and then separated us. And still, no one threw a punch. They started throwing bottles, guys. And then I hear, oh my God, I got him. And I look over, my best friend's on the floor, motionless.
Miraculously, his friend survived the brutal attack. As for revenge, Omar says they never went down that road, but karma did its work. One of their assailants later died and another was arrested. Omar insists their hands were clean of these outcomes, though some fans can't help but wonder about the coincidence.
One guy got killed, another one went to the hospital.
Wait, so did your friend die?
No.
Your friend survived?
He survived.
Okay, so who got?
The other side is there that were involved. I'm saying I can speak for sure that at least 2 or 3 of them are no longer with us, but it didn't happen from us or because of that incident.
Despite the rough patches in his past, fans are grateful that Omar didn't continue down a path of violence. If he had, we might never have seen his stellar performance as Sweet Pea and Baby Boy, nor witnessed his evolution into the talented actor he is today.
Go on, horse.
Next in line is none other than Denzel Washington. This powerhouse of an actor hardly needs an introduction given his legendary status in Hollywood. Denzel has stacked up numerous accolades over his illustrious career, including 2 Academy Awards, a Tony Award, 2 Golden Globe Awards, as well as the prestigious Cecil B. DeMille Award and the AFI Life Achievement Award. He's also been nominated for 2 Primetime Emmy Awards. Washington is celebrated for his compelling performances in the Equalizer trilogy, and he's not just an actor, he's also directed notable films like Antoine Fisher, The Great Debaters, and Fences. But behind the fame and the acclaim, Denzel's early life was marked by mischief and close calls with a future far less bright. During a candid chat with Peter Travers on ABC News Popcorn with Peter Travers while promoting his movie Magnificent Seven, Denzel opened up about his youth. When asked if he was a good kid, he chuckled and admitted, quote, I was mischievous. He then delved deeper into his past, revealing that his childhood was anything but straightforward. He shared that while he was busy being a typical mischievous kid, some of his closest friends from back then ended up spending decades in jail. Quote, my 3 closest friends did quite a bit of time in jail. Decades, he said.
I was out mischievous.
Mischievous.
You know, my 3 closest friends did quite a bit of time.
Denzel credits his mother, Lennis Washington, with playing a pivotal role in steering him away from potential disaster. He recounted how his mom saw the signs early and made the tough decision to pull him out of a potentially harmful environment. Quote, "She had enough sense to get me out of the situation before it was going to be my turn," he reflected.
And my mother had enough sense to get me out of that situation before it was going to be my turn.
Denzel used the phrase "throwing rocks at the penitentiary" to describe his brushes with trouble, meaning he was close to ending up behind bars himself, but luckily he never did. "I never got caught, but I also knew right from wrong, so I never wanted to go too far," he explained, suggesting a self-awareness about his boundaries even as a young teen.
She taught us right from wrong, but just the grace of God, I never got caught.
There you go.
I also knew right from wrong, so I didn't want to go too far, but I dipped my toe in the water.
In a move that proved to be life-changing, Lennis Washington placed Denzel in a private school starting in the 9th grade, a privilege his friends did not receive. The contrast in their fortunes couldn't be starker. Quote, "One did 28 years behind bars, one did 20, and the other did 12, Denzel recounted. Sadly, one of his friends didn't survive, while the other two eventually got out of prison.
My 3 closest friends started heading further and further in another direction, and one did 28 years, one did good 20, and one did 12.
Reflecting on what advice he'd offer to his 15-year-old self, Denzel's response was immediate and lighthearted yet poignant. Quote, "Listen to your mother. Everyone say thank you to Mrs. Lennis Washington."
Right.
You don't understand English, man? I just said him with the same thing he got.
Now let's shift our focus to Fred Rowe Starr, an American talent who's not just a rapper but also an accomplished actor. Best known as a member of the hardcore rap group Onyx, Fred Rowe has impressively extended his artistry into acting, starring in over 55 films and television shows. He burst onto the acting scene with his debut in the HBO drama Strapped, and since then his film credits have expanded to include titles like Spike Lee's Clockers and Sunset Park. On television, he first appeared in shows like Law & Order and New York Undercover, but it was his role as Quentin Q. Brooks on UPN's Moshe, starring alongside R&B singer Brandy, that really made him a household name. With such a prolific career, it's evident that Fred Rowe Starr's life took a direction focused on creativity and success, steering clear of the darker paths that could have ensnared him. In a revealing interview with DJ Vlad, Fred Rowe opened up about the environment he grew up in. He mentioned that during his youth, it seemed like every kid in his neighborhood was selling drugs. It was a common survival tactic, a way of life driven by necessity rather than choice.
Every kid from my era sold drugs. Every kid.
including both of y'all.
Everybody.
Despite the prevalence of this lifestyle around him, Fred Rowe never got involved. He was always in the vicinity, after all. His friends and everyone in the community were part of that world, but he consciously chose to stay clear of it. Today, he expresses profound gratitude for being able to say he's still here, unscathed by the potential dangers that drug dealing entails.
You know, it just wasn't for me. You know what I'm saying? I was always the guy mostly like just being around it, but not really being dirty. And then certain like that still get caught up. You know what I'm saying? It might come through and wet it up, you know, you got that thing on you, you know what I mean? Like, if you're around it, it can happen. I'm like, I just thank God that I'm still here, you know?
Fred Rowe's fans also shared this gratitude. They've seen glimpses of this fiery personality, notably in his explosive confrontation with Charlemagne the God. The incident, which occurred during a heated interview where Charlemagne provoked him, showcased Fred Rowe's intense side.
Why we got an issue, bro? Because you brought some that I ain't like, and I don't like that. I ain't no.
I don't know what you want me to do.
You can't do nothing. You can't do nothing. That's what I'm saying. You can't do nothing, big man.
This choice to steer clear of a life of crime and focus on his music and acting career not only allowed Fred Rowe to develop his immense talents, but also likely saved him from the fates that befall many who get caught up in street life.
For your kids to start second-guessing your authority. 3 days into that, my son walked up to me and was like, hey, so why we gotta listen to you? You can't even get the lights on.
Next on our list is Charlie Murphy, a name that resonates not just as Eddie Murphy's brother, but as a powerhouse of comedy in his own right. Best known for his unforgettable roles and hilarious sketches on Comedy Central's Chappelle's Show, and as a co-star on the sitcom Black Jesus, Charlie had a unique ability to leave audiences in stitches. But there's much more to his story than his comedic talents. Charlie's life wasn't always lined with laughs. Growing up on Long Island after his parents split and his father passed away, he found himself thrust into the role of man of the house at the tender age age of 10. This immense pressure led him to seek belonging and protection with the local youth, and he eventually became part of a gang known as King Python's Gang. Here he was dubbed Little Boss, a nickname that hinted at his leadership qualities even at a young age. However, this affiliation set him on a precarious path, and it wasn't long before his involvement in gang activities escalated to more serious crimes. Eddie Murphy told Rolling Stone in 2011 that Charlie was definitely the tougher brother as they grew up. Charlie was in gangs, and even now Charlie's like an extra ultra macho. He has a black belt in karate. I got through a lot of schools because the kids knew I was his brother. You don't F with Eddie, his brother will unalive you. Charlie was a really tough guy.
My brother was in all the gangs, you know, he'd come in the house with a gun and say, hi.
The turning point came when Charlie, still a teenager, was arrested for armed robbery. This impulsive act resulted in a 10-month jail sentence, a period during which he did some serious soul searching. It was within the confines of a cell that Charlie decided he needed a drastic change. Reflecting on his life choices, he realized that continuing down this path would likely lead to more dire consequences. Determined to turn his life around, Charlie made a life-altering decision soon after his release. At 18 years old, he enlisted in the US Navy, marking the beginning of his journey toward maturity and responsibility. Charlie's 6 years in the Navy were transformative, instilling in him discipline and a new perspective on life. Upon his return to civilian life, he found himself at a crossroads searching for a direction that could fulfill his newfound aspirations. Initially, he worked as a security guard for his younger brother Eddie, who by then had catapulted to fame as a comedian.
Charlie, what would you say was your favorite memory of being a bodyguard?
My favorite memory of being a bodyguard was probably whipping somebody's ass. I don't know, that's the best part of the job.
While he valued the chance to support his brother, Charlie felt a strong desire to make his own mark. He often expressed that being in someone's shadow was not enough for him. He wanted to lead, not follow. Being there to support someone else is cool if you're a troop, but I'm a general. I like being out in front, he once stated, capturing his ambition to carve out his own identity. Motivated by this drive, Charlie eventually left his security job to pursue a career in writing and acting. It was during this pivotal time that he began to write his first film script, planting the seeds for what would become a successful career in entertainment. His relentless pursuit of creativity led him to moments of triumph in the world of comedy and acting, earning him a revered spot in Hollywood. Tragically, Charlie's life was cut short when he lost his battle with leukemia in secret, passing away on April 12, 2017 at the age of 57. Moving on to an unexpected entry, we have Michael Jackson, the king of pop himself. It might raise some eyebrows to see his name associated with gang culture, but there are intriguing hints throughout his career that suggest connections to the notorious American street gang, the Crips. One of the more compelling pieces of evidence is the song Blue Gangsta, released posthumously. Given that the Crips are synonymous with the color blue, the song's title and lyrics, where Michael refers to himself as a blue gangsta, certainly fuel speculation. Further adding to this narrative, Michael incorporated real members of the Crips in his iconic music video for The Way You Make Me Feel. In a particular scene, it's clear that Michael commands respect and authority among them, even managing to quiet a rowdy crowd with just a sharp scream.
And we actually used real gang members in the video.
Even during his performances, Michael would never miss the opportunity to rep his set. Here he is seen sporting the color blue during his Grammy performance, which seemed to be a common occurrence with Michael. However, as Michael matured, it seems he sought to distance himself from any gang affiliations, as evidenced in his song I'm So Blue, where he expresses a desire to be set free from the blue, symbolically moving away from the Crips. And as we all know, Michael was a known advocate for peace, often used his platform to preach unity among rival groups, a mission inspired by the harsh realities he witnessed growing up in Gary, Indiana. His hit song Beat It is a perfect example promoting peace and steering clear of violence.
After trying to kill you and smiling in your face like nothing ain't ever happened.
Transitioning to another dramatic story, let's talk about Terrence Howard. His life reads like a movie script, filled with intense life-altering moments from a very young age. At just 3 years old, he witnessed his father commit a fatal stabbing in self-defense while they were in line to see Santa Claus. By the time he was 13, Terrence was nearly a casualty of LA's brutal gang wars. If you lived in the neighborhood, you had to be part of a gang, he says. I wasn't of a similar nature, but at that age, everybody wants to make a name for themselves, and the only way to make a name for yourself is to kill somebody, and the only person you can is somebody you think nobody cares about. I didn't want that to happen to me, and I had 3 other brothers too, so I was part of the Mansfield Hustlers. One particularly harrowing incident occurred when Howard did a good deed that almost cost him his life. He had tipped off a member of a rival gang, the Schoolyard Crips, about an impending attack from a known aggressor. While his intentions were noble, his own gang did not see it that way and retaliated against him, leaving him with a black eye and swollen lip. He thought the worst was behind him, but a few days later he found himself cornered by 4 members of the Schoolyard Crips. With guns pressed against his head, his life hung in the balance until, in a twist of fate, the man he helped, known as Baby Boy, intervened at the last moment to save him. This brush with death was a turning point for Howard. Realizing how quickly life could end, he decided to leave the violent street life behind and pursue a career in acting, a decision that would ultimately change his life's trajectory dramatically. Moving on to Wesley Snipes, a dynamic American actor and skilled martial artist who has carved out a significant niche in Hollywood with a versatile career spanning thriller, dramas, comedies, and particularly action films, with a notable role in movies like Blade and The Expendables 3 alongside Sylvester Stallone. While Snipes isn't commonly linked to gang involvement, there's a particularly fascinating anecdote he once shared during an interview that sparked some fan speculation about his connections. He recounted an experience on a movie set where the funding apparently came from some rather dubious sources. According to Snipes, gangsters were literally using the film production as a front for laundering money, complete with bringing guns onto the set.
Literally, the gangsters were funding the movie, and they were using the movie as a laundromat. And I can't, let me tell you, they brought guns to the set, girl. They brought guns to the set.
He mentioned that his own people were also present and armed, which led to rumors and whispers among fans about whether Snipes had deeper ties to these gang members than he let on.
And the 2 bangers, and I was up there and they was down there, and my people was on this side. We had guns too. And they had guns, and it was guns on the set. It was horrible.
Now let's switch gears to R&B sensation Chris Brown, whose name has frequently surfaced in discussions about celebrity and gang affiliations. Chris Brown's encounters with gang culture, particularly the Bloods, have been well documented and controversial. He's been spotted throwing up gang signs that are commonly associated with the Bloods, and although he has attempted to clarify these actions, the interpretations often remain skeptical. Chris explains that being in LA, it's almost inevitable to cross paths with various gang members. When you're in LA and you're around people, you meet everybody. You meet Crips, you meet Bloods, especially in this industry that I'm in. I'm not in the country world, I'm not in the all-the-way pop world. You in hip-hop and R&B and all of that meshes together, especially when you're in these events or these places where everybody can be there. I'm cordial, he says. However, Chris's connections seem to go a bit deeper according to other sources. Back in 2014, TMZ captured footages of Chris at a nightclub interacting with friends and flashing signs affiliated with the Bloods. Further reports from TMZ revealed that the Fruittown Pyru, a subgroup of the Bloods in Compton, had informally adopted Chris as an honorary member. This affiliation was not just symbolic. Chris reportedly hired several gang members, shot a music video in their neighborhood, and regularly donated shoes to disadvantaged children in the area. In recognition of his contributions, members of the Fruittown Pyru publicly vouched for him, declaring him a co-signed member of their group.
They got me
This topic resurfaced in 2023 during a controversy including Kanye West. A wellness influencer criticized Chris for allegedly laughing at one of Kanye's controversial lyrics. Responding on social media, Chris emphatically clarified his stance. Quote, "Let me make this perfectly clear before y'all try to use me as a pawn. I'm a Pyru, I ain't Muslim or Jewish, so don't start no ish, won't be no ish. I'm trying to be peaceful, but please do not wake up the demon in me. Go on about your effing day."
The stuff happening to white folks don't happen to nobody else. It does. I live in Southern California, and 2 people were mauled by mountain lions. And I knew right away they wasn't black people.
Moving on, let's talk about D.L. Hewley, an American actor, comedian, and TV personality who really made a name for himself with his sitcom The Hewleys, which was a hit from 1998 to 2002, first on ABC and then on UPN. He's also well known as one of the original kings of comedy alongside heavyweights like Steve Harvey, Cedric the Entertainer, and Bernie Mac. However, before his rise to stardom, Hewley's life was far from comedic. During his youth, he found himself involved with one of the most feared gangs in America, the Bloods.
So from what I read, you were affiliated with the Bloods at one point.
Yeah, 135th and Avalon, 5s. 135th and Avalon, neighborhood called the 135s. It was where I grew up. The name of my production is 5 Times.
Hewley's affiliation with the Bloods led to some serious consequences. This affiliation eventually led to his expulsion from high school. In a candid interview with DJ Vlad, Hewley opened up about why he was drawn to the gang life. It was a quest for acceptance that steered him into that world. While he's not proud of his past, Hewley believes that his time with the gang fundamentally changed how he views life, imparting lessons and perspectives that are still with him today.
You know, as a young boy, you're looking for acceptance for any way you can get it. And although I'm not proud of what happened, or I'm not proud of my experiences.
Interestingly, despite the negative aspects, Hewley spoke about the gang members with a kind of respect, noting that they represented a form of masculinity that profoundly influenced him. However, the turning point came when tragedy struck. Hewley's cousin was killed by fellow gang members, and to make matters worse, the gang even prohibited him from attending his cousin's funeral. This was a wake-up call for Hewley, making him realize the depth of the predicament he was in.
One of my favorite cousins, and when he died, they wouldn't let me go to the funeral, which I didn't understand. But Blood said my cousin, so. But it was at that point I realized that I knew I didn't have it in me to take human life, and it just seemed brutal to me.
Determined to turn his life around, Hewley left the gang and underwent a complete transformation. He traded his turbulent past for a future in comedy and entertainment, which has led to a successful career that his fans deeply appreciate.
Damn. All that I was throwing up out the window? What's up with it?
Now shifting our focus to Compton Menace, another notable figure who emerged from a challenging environment. Known for his role as OG Two-Tone in the 2015 biopic Straight Outta Compton, Menace's life before fame was deeply entwined with the harsh realities of street life in Compton, California. Growing up in a community where violence, drugs, and corruption were prevalent, Menace became a member of the local Fruittown Piru Blood gang. These streets shaped his early experiences, surrounded by a culture steeped in hardship and survival. Despite the pervasive influence of gang life, Menace found a creative outlet in rapping. By 2007, his interest in music had grown into more than just a pastime. It became a form of escape from the grim circumstances of his youth. Rap provided a way for him to express himself in the harsh realities of his surroundings. Through music, he was able to navigate through life, though he still faced the constant pull of the streets. Tragically, over the years, he lost many friends to the ongoing violence and gang conflicts that defined much of his early life in Compton.
I'm a man. Steal your choppers, get you over the wall.
Next up, let's talk about Danny Trejo, famously known as the Machete Man. Danny has been sober since August 23, 1968, a monumental turning point that began under dire circumstances. His journey into addiction started shockingly early, with his first encounter with weed at just 8 years old by his own uncle, his first drink by 12, and by 14, he was shooting heroin.
Introduced you to a lot of heavy stuff.
Yeah.
Early on. I guess at 8 years old, he got you high on weed.
We
for the first time.
Trejo's teenage years were a revolving door of incarceration starting from the age of 15, primarily due to drug-related offenses. His life reached a critical juncture while he was serving time at San Quentin State Prison, where he encountered a former inmate turned speaker who visited the prison. This individual had a profound impact on Trejo, offering him a simple yet life-changing invitation. Why don't you join us? Before you do anything, just join us. Give it a try. What do you have to lose? This encounter sparked what Danny describes as an awakening. Upon his release, he committed to attending AA meetings, marking the beginning of his permanent journey toward sobriety at the age of 24. Immersing himself in the recovery community, Trejo later became a drug counselor, dedicating his life to helping others overcome addiction. His transition into acting was almost serendipitous. 16 years into his sobriety, a production assistant whom Trejo had met through his work as a counselor hired him to be an extra on a movie set. The PA valued having Trejo around, particularly for support in maintaining his own sobriety. This opportunity kicked off Trejo's prolific acting career, during which he has appeared in hundreds of films and TV shows, becoming an iconic figure in Hollywood.
It's as easy as it looked. No, sir. No, sir, it wasn't.
Finally, we have the Fresh Prince himself, Will Smith. Today, Will is celebrated as one of Hollywood's most successful and cherished actors, but his early life was steeped in the tough streets of Philadelphia, a place riddled with violence, drugs, and gangs. Amidst daily occurrences of shootings, stabbings, and robberies, Will was inevitably drawn into gang life. He became a member of the Vultures, a gang connected to the notorious Philadelphia Black Mafia. His involvement with the gang led him down a dangerous path of selling drugs, carrying guns, and engaging in violent encounters. During a gang war, Will even suffered a gunshot wound to the leg. I was a gangbanger before I had puberty. I was doing things that could have gotten me K-worded or put me in jail for the rest of my life. However, Will's life took a dramatic turn when he met Benny Medina, a music producer with a past not unlike Will's own. Medina had a groundbreaking idea for a TV show based on his life. A streetwise kid from a rough neighborhood who moves in with his affluent relatives in Beverly Hills. He saw potential in Will and encouraged him to audition for the lead role. This show, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, not only became a massive hit, but also served as the launchpad for Will Smith's stellar acting career, transforming him into a beloved figure in entertainment. So what do you think about this list? Do you know any other Hollywood actors with gang ties? Drop their names in the comments, and we'll catch you in the next video.